All right, good morning and welcome to the channel. I'll wait a few minutes for everybody to catch up and get here. For those of you that are enjoying your Saturday morning, if just keep in mind if you're watching this video at a later date, then you'll probably this will not be live for you. So we talk about the largest Section 8 landlord in America having their hand caught in the cookie jar potentially, right? And so Greystar, which is I think a multinational company, and they've got a lot of beautiful properties, but they've got one very surreal problem, and that is their management for a lot of these buildings through a multitude of states are simply denying any possibility that they accept any form of Section 8 housing. And that creates a big problem when you violate federal rules or the Fair Housing Act. If you've had this problem and you've dealt with this property, any number of properties through Greystar that's owned and managed by Greystar International, as they put it, you should probably reach out to your state attorney general office. And I would also recommend reaching out to, and I'm taking a look here to see in this report, the Housing Rights Initiative. So at present, there's roughly 114 alleged Section 8 violations, and a lot of it has to do with just strictly denial. You know, people apply or inquire about a property and they simply deny there's any possibility of ever being able to rent. And that's a big problem. If America's biggest landlord at this point is denying this, and you know, that's the problem with large corporations. Sometimes it's easier to simply deny, you know, people's request to actually enter the apply and move into the buildings than it is to pay the fees, right? So they waive the legal costs, and it's probably easier for this corporation to simply deny and then face lawsuits than it would be to allow people in. You know, sometimes it ends up that way. The penalty is not stiff enough to create a big enough problem for them. And so let's take a look at some of what's happened here. And I'm going to be reading from notes, guys, because I don't track these stories that well. I thought you guys might be interested in hearing about it. It's not as spicy as I'd like it to be because this is not going all the way through court. So I don't have anybody I can accuse and put on the stand in the video, right? So the Human Rights Initiative, and it looks like complaints were filed, and it goes across a multitude of states. It looks like California, Hawaii, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Of all the complaints of 114, 53 were filed in California alone, and of that, 15 were Los Angeles and another 6 in Pasadena. Looks like the investigation, according to HRI, undercover testers began contacting Greystar managed properties in October 2025. They posed as prospective renters and confirmed that the apartment availability and discussed the rents, utilities, and property, asked whether they could use Section 8 or Housing Choice Vouchers, and recorded the property representatives' response to that. So it looks like the publicly identified examples are Santa Clara, California. The agent allegedly said that the property did not accept vouchers and participate in the program. In DC, uh, it looks like an agent allegedly said they did not believe vouchers were being accepted. In New Jersey, the tester was also allegedly told the property did not participate in the voucher program. And then looks like Kelowna, Maina, and Hawaii. An agent allegedly said the voucher was not accepted for the unit discussed. College Park, Maryland, that'd be the Union of Knox. An agent allegedly said the property could not be accept vouchers of any kind. And then East Langling in Michigan, an agent allegedly said the property did not support the voucher. So it seems that, if you have a few incidents of this, maybe it's just poor training, but it just seems like there's just unspoken truth that the largest landlord, in America simply does not want to deal with this. And in some respects, I can understand, because there's a lot of information and misinformation. But I can tell you, you're really banging on the federal wall with that because you cannot have a blanket policy like this. Housing is just housing, whether a person's earning a paycheck or using a Section 8 voucher. So I think that corporate needs to sit down and really think more carefully about this. It's not that big of effect. And in fact, a lot of people that use Section 8 vouchers and housing are really not bad people at all, and it's certainly from an investment standpoint, if that voucher's covering the rent, then there's really no material argument at that point. I mean, that's the whole point, to make money as a landlord. Blindly violating fair housing laws is just probably not a great idea. So I think that possibly they should review some better training on that where permissible. Not every state can enforce this. Obviously, there are different state laws, but federal law is very clear. Um, Moving on to comments here. I'm sure you guys have a lot to say. And again, I want to hear your opinions about this because we're just kind of sharing the concept. There's been no outcome of this yet, and there's been no statement by Greystar to indicate what they're going to do or how they're going to address this. So I would imagine they're probably looking into the matter. Sheila Neal, good morning. Scully Lamb watching. God, I wish you would expose HHT in Muskogee. Well, look, if I went on if I did videos on exposure, we would have thousands, right? I can barely keep up with just how much goes on in the U.S. And so, as much as I love to do that, I have to pick the biggest and juiciest stories because YouTube requires me to only publish videos about shit that's entertaining, right? And so, I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to get things out to you, but it's hard at times when the algorithm doesn't always love you. Imminent possibility. Good morning, everybody. And Rhonda, good morning. Happy weekend to you. Oh, by the way, guys, let me give a quick update. So, as y'all know, we had a problem with our cats. Many of you that watch our channel a lot, we went through a phase where 3 cats ended up at the veterinarian's office getting poisoned. We found the cause, and it wasn't environmental, and it wasn't a bad neighbor. So it was actually the cat food being uh, improperly stored by Amazon or somewhere through the supply chain. And so we did lose my oldest cat, Gracie, and I'm going to go get little mama. So she did make it, but the cats right now are presenting as not the normal cats that I deal with. They're lethargic and have other problems now because of this. So I'm hoping that through the summer they recover and we start to see the core of the cats as they are. It's been a very difficult experience. So for those who were interested in that update, Spooky Crispy, I love that name. Thank you for the the hello hand emoji. And Sullivan Alexander, is it imitation homes? I don't know. It's just part of Greystar's larger portfolio, and they've got some pretty renowned properties. I mean, they're really nice. So Robert goes on to say New Jersey has a shortage of affordable housing. I think that could be a statement that could apply nationwide, and in some places more than others, like Los Angeles and other major cities. Let's see. Robert goes on. They make it tough to get in. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of what Section 8 was in the early period, 70s and 80s, because of all the prejudicial stuff that flew out in the news during that era, that a lot of people still kind of carry that bias in their mind, including landlords. They believe a lot of the shit that was said, when in fact that was really only a representation of less than probably a half of a percent of all people. But yet, because the news loves to inflate things and draw on nothing but nasty stories, people have this overriding idea that everybody that's on Section 8 is a lot of different things. And the program itself is much different than it ever was 30, 40 years ago. And so most people that, fight to be on lists, wait a damn decade to get a voucher. The last thing in their mind is having a litter of children tearing shit up and smoking meth in a property. Okay, most people are not going to go through all that drama just to go and create bigger problems. Now, however, I'm not suggesting there aren't people that do get in Section 8 and create havoc and hell. Okay, there's certainly those instances, but that simply is not a representation of 99.5%. It's just not. Neither is the depiction by news. And we always have to be careful with the news. The news it loves death tolls, bad news, and horrific situations. And so you never hear CNN or Fox News want to discuss things about how well shit's gone. That's not what news does. And so we have a very one-sided understanding of how much of this plays out. And in many cases, is pushed by politics, prejudicial behavior, and so people have these wild ideas, but yet have never had any first hand experience except for those that have potentially been in programs or worked in the field. Okay. Kitty Pie, good morning, Jay. Thank you very much. Sullivan Alexander. It's a lot of properties that don't take vouchers here in Marietta. We have a very overarching or overreaching situation throughout the U.S. And I think a lot of that goes off old wisdom, where people have heard things and they still believe that. Look, you know what? 9 out of 10 landlords that contact my office about becoming Section 8 landlords start with the same old horseshit. They talk like it's still 1985, and I'm trying to remind them that, whatever they learned on the TV back in 82 is certainly not the circumstance of Section 8 housing these days everywhere. Okay. Um, Let's go, Elan. Sorry about your cats. Well, my Kikis have been a big part of the channel and a big part of my life, and they have a serious and profound effect on my life, to the tune of $8,000. And one of my oldest cats at 26 passing away because of it. I now scrutinize everything that I purchase and give them because of that, because we live in a world where profits are maximized over the care and welfare of even humans, your pets, and therefore you have to demonstrate great concern when you do things. And so now I will scrutinize everything going forward because of this, because Gracie didn't desire after 26 years, yeah, maybe it was her time, but it certainly didn't have to be this way, complete organ failure, and it damn near killed 3 more of my cats. So, all for corporate, you know, for the corporate dollar. And so we move on. Infinite Possibilities heard about the Greystar, so I wouldn't apply in any of their buildings, at least for now until the matter is solved. The Department of Justice, as well as hearings throughout the attorney generals for every state that's had this problem. And I have a feeling now that the story is nationwide, I think the numbers of 114 cases will likely inflate to probably hundreds, if not thousands. So that corporation is going to have to they're really going to have to sit in the boardroom, revisit this, and restructure how they're handling this. Otherwise, it's going to get rather ugly fast. Because if fair housing does get involved in this, the feds are not going to negotiate with them. They don't give a damn if they got $1 billion in properties. They're not going to negotiate this. You'll either comply with federal rules or you'll be subject to the king and the queen, right? Moving on from there, Charity Man. Good morning, Jay. Well, good morning to you as well. So I'd like to report, other than this, I don't really see any bad things happening in the news, which is good news for everybody. I don't see any big changes happening right now. I know we've got a date coming pretty soon for Congress to make a vote. I have a suspicion that we might actually get decent news and that these time limits and work requirements may not get approved because it actually touches such a serious issue in terms of senators. And make no mistake, just because those senators got money and they may not live like the rest of us in America doesn't mean they don't have friends and families connected to them that are also low income. And so I think that I don't think that Congress may be too willing. I think that this is all going to get watered down, but that's my under thoughts on that. But we'll see. We don't have much farther to go. Maybe 60 days before that vote, and there are several different layers of Congress this needs to go to before it can even be signed into law. So I think by the time it goes through the tunnel of approval, we may get a much more watered down version of this. Should also remind you guys that we're reaching a midpoint during the administration that's currently in office. So each day we arrive as that gets closer to the next presidential election will likely be some relief, because I don't think there are going to be many presidents that are going to attempt to redo the whole system like this. So this is probably once in a generation uh, situation, and I believe that there won't be such great effects through any future Republicans or Democrats or independents to take office. I mean, obviously there will be ups and downs with it, but none as severe as this, where we have a reorganization of federal rules and policies to the point that it's literally changed the system as a whole. So, as we wind down through this administration pretty soon, we should likely consider that things may return to some normalcy, and then we'll have to see what the next president feels about the circumstances and what they plan on doing. So I think that might be a bit of a relief there. I also believe that, you know, now that the president has pretty much changed everything that he's looking at, and this is a second attempt on time limits and work requirements, I believe that he has run through the entire system of federal housing. In other words, I don't think there's much to revisit. Everything that can be changed has really been changed. This is the last on the deck. And so I don't believe the next 2 years or so there's going to be any major examples of massive changes. I think that this is probably the last brushstroke on these deals for Section 8 housing and policy. So if there is additional stuff, it's probably going to be refined, but not major moves. So I think that a lot of that was taken on early in the administration to make well, to make a point, right? And so the point was to change the system as fundamentally as a whole. So we may see some relief there. What I'd like to see some relief on is for middle America and low income America, that we start seeing costs come down, less frequency in wars and other issues. So the country can begin to normalize, because right now the effective changes under the administration seem to be a benefit to the upper middle class and wealthy, but to little reaction of lower America and middle America. And so we can't sustain these indifferent and challenging times for much longer. I mean, this has been stretched since the pandemic. Every president's had his own idea about it, and it's all been convoluted, honestly. I think we just need to go back to what America was and then try to let shit settle down so we can afford gas and stop surviving, because that's what everybody's doing. Let me give you a great example. You know, I've been in my own financial crisis, and I'm now having to come out of retirement because of it. I talked to a friend of mine that owns a very large property, and he's got about 10 units. And even he told me the other day, he goes, "Look, we're counting dollars in our house." This is despite having 10 rental properties and about 10,000 come in. Costs are so great that even he's marching through Walmart looking at value right items. So I think that a lot of America right now is just tired of high prices and fluctuations. So I think that we're all learning that yes, the country can be run from a business perspective, but the problem is operating a country like a business. It has deep inflections for those that are low income and middle class. In other words, we're kind of taking the brunt of this, and we need the market to cool, including interest rates and so on, because the effective changes are changing things, but it's really not. It's not that hopeful for middle and lower America. And again, these opinions are shared by myself. Okay, they're not based on being an economist or anything otherwise. I'm just sharing mine. You're more than welcome to disagree. This is not a hit list for the president or Congress or anybody else. I try to remain as objective as possible. So, moving on down to imminent possibilities. I heard about Greystar and Charity Man. Good morning. Let's see. Imminent possibilities. Do you think the housing choice vouchers will be available after October? I think that after October, once we get our final notice on the biggest and probably the final change to Section 8 and housing, I think the market will cool. I think that finally we can probably, exhale all the way through the holidays, because I don't believe there's anything left that can, any massive big changes can be that are left on the table. I mean, this has run everything from firing half a HUD and get rid of the building and defunding homelessness and then cuts to Section 8 vouchers, then moving on to work requirements and time limits and then investigations in nearly every housing authority. There's nothing left on a dinner plate that has not been covered. I mean, at this point, we would just be nitpicking little things through the rest of the administration's term. So I don't believe after this, I think we're finally going to be able to somewhat slide down the hill without having to see too much pop off. Moving there, Pika. Morning, Jay. You and the kitties doing? How are you and the kitties doing? We're doing good, although they're all asleep. Um, Dimension Pops has still been largely unconscious. It puts a lot, as I mentioned, the cats being poisoned by that cat food. They're sleeping a lot, so it's really put a lot of strain on their bodies, and so the cats are not moving around. Nobody. They spend most of their time with me, which is highly unusual. To have all the cats cooperate and be in the bedroom, and then they're unconscious for about 12, 13 hours a day. They just get up to eat a little bit, and I've been nursing them with tuna, but I have to limit that because of mercury, right? So I just trying to nurse them back to health, the three that I have left, and go from there, right? That's all we can do. Um, moving on from there, Jacqueline, good morning and welcome to the channel. So, guys, I think we've covered kind of this. What I'm going to do is put some information in the comment section of the video. If you've had some dealings with this company and you feel that your federal rights have been violated, I'm put information where you can reach out to that initiative that's handling all these indictments, and I'm also going to recommend that you reach out to your state attorney general's office if you believe that your fair housing rights have been violated. Okay. But do not make false accusations. And so thus far, this company has not been found guilty of anything. This is all insinuated, and nothing has actually been brought through. So I don't have a material argument against Greystar. This is more of a public service announcement. Um, to let everybody know that there may be a potential problem, and that the federal government may have to intervene at both state and federal level. But until that's seen to its end, we're not really going to know what's going to result here. So I'm using great caution for two reasons. One, they're a very big company, and two, they've not actually been charged with anything other than accusations, and so we'll have to see what the evidence produces in this circumstance. But it is a public service announcement, certainly for those of you that have attempted to rent from them or have rented from them and had other issues. Okay. Well, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up this morning. This afternoon, I'm gonna make a short, probably 9 or 10 minute video, and we're gonna continue on our educational path, and that will be me talking about how to do something Section 8 or otherwise housing related. I find that these newer videos, though they don't have a lot of views, they're certainly answering a lot of questions. So I believe we're reaching a market that generally a lot of people will make videos about. They only want to make videos about topics that bring high viewership. My goal is to been more or less to produce a little over 2,000 videos to cover all the unanswered questions that are out there. So a lot of what Google, that way we can clear the record, because right now I find that Google search, as long as Google AI, is pulling from outdated information on hundreds, if not thousands of topics. So I'm trying to resolve that matter myself, but it's going to take quite a while. Even doing 1 to 2 videos a day is probably going to take me 2 or 3 years to cover it all. But hopefully we can give a better representation or accurate representation of how people can do things and answer the material questions they need to when they can't get answers from your local housing authority or otherwise HUD, which, can be difficult at times. We're definitely at a reduced staffing level for HUD. Housing authorities are facing the use of AI, so a lot of employees are probably going to be losing their job over the next couple of years. So it gets harder and harder to get the kind of information you need to answer your questions. So my office is taking that job on as we have for the last 15 years. This time I'm just being more accurate about it. Moving in, anybody got last questions too? Please do bring them up. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. Looks like Jen says good morning and infinite possibilities. Praying for you and the kitties' health to get back soon. All right. Well, I appreciate that. So it looks like we have no further comments. I was glad to be able to report this today, and then we'll do an update on it if anything ever comes of this. Otherwise, we'll see y'all this afternoon around 5 or 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm looking for an interesting topic to answer questions related to housing. So we'll have to see what I come up with. All right, guys. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you this afternoon. Bye for now.